Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel Immortal News. Today we invite you to join us for a gentle and heartfelt remembrance. We'll be honoring the American stars we've recently lost, as well as beloved figures from around the world whose lives touched us in ways we may not even realize until they're gone. These are the stories of people who made us smile, inspired us, and left behind memories that continue to echo in our hearts. Before we begin, if you could take a moment to give this video a like, it would truly mean a lot. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tributes and keeping their legacies alive. Thank you for being here with us. Now, let's begin. Number 5. She made joy sound easy. That's how a fellow artist once described Judy Cheeks, a singer whose voice soared across decades and genres, carrying with it the spirit of resilience and deep emotion. Judy passed away peacefully at age 71 after a private illness, leaving behind a soundtrack of hope, empowerment, and rhythm for the world. Judy's musical impact can't be overstated. From early recognition by Ike and Tina Turner to her shimmering breakthrough on global dance floors, she brought gospel soul to disco beats like no one else. Her 1978 hit Mellow Lovin' sparked the beginning of her dance music reign. But it was the 90s resurgence that truly cemented her legacy, with back-to-back #1 US dance hits, including Respect and As Long As You're Good to Me. Her voice was unmistakable, joyful yet grounded, fiery yet tender. Whether performing solo or lending harmonies to legends like Boney M and Amanda Lear, Judy made every note personal. She wasn't just a hitmaker, she was a connector. Her songs were invitations to feel, deeply, openly, and without shame. Away from the charts, Judy never stopped creating. Her 2020 release, Love Dancin', wasn't just an album, it was a reflection of decades lived fully, layered with wisdom, laughter, and musical grace. Many remember her not only for her talent, but for the warmth she brought into a room. Artists she worked with described her as generous. Listeners often say her music helped them through hard times, giving them an anthem when words failed. A tribute from longtime collaborator and friend Stevie Wonder simply read, "Judy sang to lift others, and she did, every time." Judy Cheeks gave more than music. She gave people the courage to dance, to dream, and to feel their worth. Her voice may be silent now, but her songs remain, vibrant, unforgettable, and alive in the hearts of all who listened. Tributes to Judy Cheeks. Number 4. He's interested in the whole of humanity through the lens of his place, fellow author William Boyle once said of Daniel Woodrell. That place was the Missouri Ozarks, and through it, Woodrell gave voice to lives rarely seen, with stories that cut deep and linger long. Daniel Woodrell passed away at 72 in West Plains, Missouri, after facing pancreatic cancer with quiet strength. He leaves behind a body of work that reshaped American crime fiction and birthed a genre entirely his own, country noir. His storytelling was stark and graceful, unsettling and wise. From the searing pages of Winter's Bone to the sparse heartbreak of Tomato Red, he wrote with a clarity that pierced the heart. His characters were poor, proud, defiant, human. Readers didn't just meet them, they remembered them. Woodrell's life was no straight line. He left high school to join the Marines. Later, he earned degrees from 2 universities, including a master's from the celebrated Iowa Writers' Workshop. The raw honesty in his fiction came from experience, not assumption. 3 of his novels became films, but Winter's Bone brought national attention. It earned 4 Academy Award nominations, including 1 for Best Picture, yet despite the success, he never left the Ozarks that shaped his stories. His work earned many honors: a Penn Center USA Literacy Award, the Chicago Tribune Heartland Prize, and more. But accolades never changed his voice. He stayed rooted, writing from and about the margins, with empathy and grit. Woodrull was married to novelist Katia Still, with whom he shared both a life and a love for words. Together in West Plains, they built a quiet, creative world. That world, of muddy back roads, faded houses, and stubborn hope, breathed through every line he wrote. He told hard truths with beauty. He gave dignity to the overlooked. And he offered literature something rare. Stories that mattered and stayed. Daniel Woodrull showed us that even the roughest roads can carry poetry. Tributes to Daniel Woodrull. Number 3. There was elegance in every stroke he played, and kindness in every word he spoke. Nicola Pietrangeli, the heartbeat of Italian tennis for generations, has passed away peacefully at the age of 92. A legend on the court and a gentleman off it, he inspired countless fans and athletes with his unmatched grace, passion, and humility. He first captured the world's attention by claiming the French Open title not once but twice, becoming Italy's first ever Grand Slam champion. What he brought to the sport wasn't just trophies but a quiet strength that lifted a nation. Nicknamed the Maestro by admirers, Pietrangeli's career spanned decades of excellence. He reached Grand Slam semifinals, conquered world rankings, and dazzled on the grass courts of Wimbledon. Yet it was in Davis Cup battles where he etched his name into history. Competing in 164 matches from 1954 to 1972, he led with unmatched loyalty and success, racking up a record 120 victories. As a captain, he returned to guide Italy to its first ever Davis Cup win in 1976. His leadership helped lay the foundation for what Italian tennis would later become. Off the court, Pietrangeli remained just as admired. He loved deeply, laughed easily, and supported others wholeheartedly. Those who knew him describe a man of warmth and resilience. One longtime friend said, "He never stopped being a champion, even in ordinary moments." For his contributions, he earned a place in the International Tennis Hall of Fame and the rare honor of having Rome's iconic tennis stadium named after him while still alive. Even in his final years, he remained a steady figure in sport and society, cheering for SS Lazio, appearing in film, and sharing laughs with friends and family. He was a proud father, a loyal partner, and a cornerstone of Italian culture. Nicola Pietrangeli passed away following age-related health complications. His presence may be gone, but his influence will echo for generations. Tributes to Nicola Pietrangeli. Number 2. With a voice that could both challenge and charm, Brian Hayes brought honesty and depth to every conversation. His fearless curiosity made him one of broadcasting's most compelling figures. Whether on the radio or behind the scenes, Brian never shied away from truth. He invited it in and made listeners think. Known to many across Britain and beyond, Brian shaped the landscape of talk radio with a bold and direct style that never lost its humanity. For years, his programs offered more than opinion. They created dialogue. Through spirited debates and thoughtful exchanges, he helped listeners navigate complex issues with clarity and wit. Born in Australia, Brian found his calling behind the microphone in the UK. He became a household name through his work with prominent radio stations, including the BBC. His commitment to open conversation left a lasting impression on British media. He believed in holding power accountable, yet he never lost his warmth or sense of humor. Brian passed away peacefully at the age of 87, following a short illness. News of his passing sparked reflections across the broadcasting community, as friends and colleagues remembered his voice, his impact, and his values. Broadcaster Jeremy Vine paid tribute, saying, "Brian set the standard. He had a remarkable way of making you feel like the only person in the room. Fearless, fair, and truly kind." What set Brian apart wasn't just his quick mind or disarming candor. It was the way he listened. He gave space to others even when he disagreed. In doing so, he earned genuine trust from audiences who tuned in not just to hear, but to be heard. Even after stepping away from the microphone, Brian continued to mentor young journalists and advocates for free speech. His influence reaches well beyond the archives and airwaves. His legacy lives on in the conversations he sparked. He is survived by his family, friends, colleagues, and countless listeners who appreciated not just his questions, but the generous spirit behind them. Tributes to Brian Hayes. What's trending on the internet? News 1. Let's take a few minutes together to talk about what's really going on in the economy right now, and why so many everyday Americans are feeling a little worn down by it. Recently, several new economic reports came out, and they paint a mixed picture. On paper, things might look okay at first glance, but when you dig a little deeper, you can see why so many people are saying, "It just doesn't feel like the economy is working for me." Prices are still high in many places. Groceries, gas, rent, and basic household items are taking a bigger bite out of monthly budgets than they used to. Even when prices stop rising as quickly, they're still sitting at levels that feel uncomfortably expensive for a lot of families, especially those on fixed incomes or living on savings. At the same time, the job market, which was very strong not long ago, is starting to show some cracks. Job openings are not quite as plentiful, and some people are finding it harder to switch careers or re-enter the workforce later in life. For older Americans, that can be especially stressful. If you're retired or semi-retired, you might be watching your savings more closely. If you're still working, you might be wondering how long your job will feel secure, and whether your paycheck can really keep up with higher prices. Income growth has slowed down too. Wages have risen over the last few years, but not always as fast as the cost of living. That can leave people feeling like they're treading water, doing everything right, but not really getting ahead. Many Americans are using more credit cards or dipping into savings just to stay on top of everyday bills, something that understandably causes a lot of worry. And yet, in the middle of all this, there are bright spots. Some parts of the economy are still growing, and many local communities are stepping up in quiet, powerful ways. Churches, neighborhood centers, food banks, and nonprofit groups are working together to help folks with groceries, utilities, and access to jobs and training. Families are sharing resources, older and younger generations supporting one another, and many people are learning new skills or starting small side businesses to stay resilient. The message from these reports is not that everything is terrible. Instead, it's that the numbers are finally beginning to reflect what many Americans have been saying for a while. Life just feels more expensive and less stable than it did a few years ago. That recognition matters, because it means leaders, businesses, and communities can make more informed choices about how to help. If you're feeling the pressure of high prices or a softer job market, you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. Millions of Americans are walking the same road right now, doing their best to adjust, to plan carefully, and to look out for one another. In the end, What will be remembered about this time is not just the statistics, but the way people pulled together, found creative ways to manage their money, supported their neighbors, and kept moving forward with patience and hope, even when the economic news felt like a mixed bag. News 2. Every once in a while the internet slows down from the loud headlines and gives us a story that just feels good to talk about. Today I want to share one of those stories with you. In a small town in Ohio, 82-year-old retired teacher Margaret Lewis has quietly become an online star, all because she decided she wasn't done helping kids learn. After teaching elementary school for more than 40 years, Margaret missed the feeling of helping a child understand something new. So her grandson Tyler helped her set up a simple video channel from her kitchen table. Now, every afternoon, Margaret sits by the window with a stack of handwritten notes and a cup of tea, recording short, gentle lessons for children who are struggling with reading and basic math. She calls them kitchen table lessons with Mrs. Lewis, and she always begins the same way by saying, "If no one has told you today that they believe in you, I do." At first, only a handful of local families tuned in, but then a single clip of Margaret patiently walking through a storybook with a nervous 8-year-old reader spread across social media. People were touched by her calm voice, her warmth, and the way she cheered every tiny step of progress. Within a few weeks, her quiet corner of the internet had grown into a worldwide community of parents, grandparents, and kids, many of them learning in living rooms and kitchens that look a lot like hers. What makes Margaret's story so special is not just the number of viewers she has now, but the spirit behind it. She doesn't ask for donations, doesn't sell anything, and often reminds her audience that the most important resource any child needs is a patient adult who believes in them. She says her goal is simple: to make sure no child feels too slow or not smart enough to be helped. Families from across the country, and even from overseas, have written in to say that their children are reading better, gaining confidence, and even looking forward to homework because of her kind approach. One parent shared that her shy son went from hiding his school books to proudly reading along with Mrs. Lewis every night before bed. Another grandparent said Margaret's videos gave her the courage to help her own grandson with reading, even though she hadn't been in a classroom in decades. Margaret's hometown has embraced her too. Local neighbors bring over homemade cookies and fresh flowers for her filming days. The public library now hosts a weekly kitchen table club, where kids watch one of her short lessons together, then practice reading with volunteers. The library staff say it's the most joyful hour of their week. When asked why she keeps going, especially at 82, Margaret smiles and says that teaching isn't a job you retire from in your heart. She believes that as long as she can sit up, smile, and speak into a camera, she can still make a difference in a child's life. Her grandson jokes that she's now grandma to the internet, but Margaret simply calls herself a teacher, just like she always has. In a world that sometimes feels divided and noisy, Margaret's story is a gentle reminder that kindness travels far, no matter how small it seems at the start. A simple kitchen table, one patient voice, and a deep love for children have turned an ordinary retirement into an extraordinary new chapter. As more people discover her videos, what they remember most isn't just the reading tips or math tricks. They remember the way she makes every child feel seen, capable, and worthy of a second, third, or even 10th try. And long after the views and trends come and go, Margaret Lewis will be remembered as the grandmotherly teacher who showed the world that it's never too late to share your gifts, never too late to lift someone up, and never too late to change a life with a little patience and a lot of heart. News 3. If you've been following the news out of New Jersey, you may have heard about a big decision involving a well-known attorney and ally of former President Donald Trump, Alina Habba. Today we're going to walk through what happened in a clear, calm, and respectful way, and what it means going forward. Alina Habba, a prominent lawyer who was in her early 40s, had been tapped to become the top federal prosecutor in New Jersey, a role formerly known as the United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey. This is a very important public service position that oversees major federal cases in the state, from public corruption to complex financial crimes. Recently, a federal appeals court stepped in and ruled that Alina Habba is disqualified from serving in that post, at least for now. The The court's decision focused on concerns about her past legal work and whether it might affect the independence and public trust that the job of top federal prosecutor requires. In simple terms, the judges said they did not believe she could take the position without raising questions about fairness and impartiality in high-profile cases. It's important to note that this was a legal and procedural decision, not a personal attack. The judges were careful to look at the responsibilities of the office, her prior representation of Donald Trump and other clients, and how those ties might appear to the public. Their conclusion was that, in order to keep confidence in the justice system, she should not move into that powerful federal role. For many people watching at home, especially those who have lived through decades of American political ups and downs, this may feel like another chapter in a long story about how our country tries to balance loyalty, politics, and the rule of law. Moments like this can stir up strong feelings, no matter which side of the aisle you are on. But they also remind us that in the United States, major decisions about public office are often checked and reviewed by independent courts. Alina Habba still remains an experienced attorney with a high-profile career, and this ruling does not end her work in the legal field. Instead, it simply means she will not be stepping into this particular public role. The position of United States Attorney for New Jersey will likely go to another nominee, someone the courts believe can take on the job without raising conflict of interest concerns. In the bigger picture, this story highlights something many older Americans know well. Our institutions may not be perfect, but they are designed with guardrails. Courts review nominations, questions are asked, and decisions are explained in public, so that citizens can understand why those choices are made. It is one of the ways our system tries to keep public service focused on fairness and integrity. As this chapter closes, Alina Habba's name will remain part of a very eventful period in American legal and political history, and the role she sought will continue to be filled by someone whose job is to serve the people of New Jersey and the country as a whole. In the end, this moment will be remembered as another example of how the justice system works through difficult questions, with the hope that the result strengthens trust, accountability, and the values that so many Americans hold dear. News 4. You might want to take a second look at your wallet before your next flight because there's an important travel update coming that could affect a lot of us, especially frequent flyers and grandparents visiting family. A U.S. federal agency has announced that starting in 2025, airline passengers who show up at airport security without a real ID-compliant identification card will be charged a $45 fee if they want to continue their trip that day. This is connected to the long-planned Real ID security rules, which tighten the standards for driver's licenses and IDs used to board domestic flights. Here's what that means in plain language. If your driver's license or state ID doesn't have the special Real ID mark, and you don't have a valid passport or other approved document, you may still be allowed to travel, but you could be charged that fee at the airport. The goal, officials say, is to keep security strong while giving travelers a last chance option instead of turning them away at the checkpoint. For many older Americans, this is a good reminder to check your ID well before any upcoming trips. Real ID licenses are issued by your state's motor vehicle office, and they usually require extra documentation, like a birth certificate or passport and proof of address. It can take some time to gather those papers, so planning ahead now can save both money and stress later. If you're helping adult children, grandchildren, or elderly relatives with holiday plans or family reunions, this is also a great moment to sit down together and make sure everyone's identification is up to date. A quick look at the small symbol on your license and a visit to your state's website can give you all the information you need. While nobody is excited about new fees, this change is intended to make air travel safer and more consistent across the country. And with a little preparation, most travelers will be able to breeze through security without paying anything extra. In the end, this is really about keeping our skies secure while still helping people get where they need to go. By updating our IDs now, we can spend less time worrying at the checkpoint and more time focusing on what really matters: the trips, reunions, and special moments with loved ones that make the journey worth it. Number 1. Stephanie always made people feel seen, a friend once said. Even through a screen, her warmth came through. Stephanie Pieper, a bright light in Austria's creative world, passed away at just 31 years old. Her death was sudden and tragic, following a disturbing and widely reported incident. But Stephanie's memory will never be defined by that ending, only by the beautiful life she was creating. Born and raised in Graz, Stephanie built a life rooted in authenticity. As a beauty influencer, she didn't just post tutorials or brand photos. She shared a piece of herself. Her content spoke to self-expression, kindness, and creativity. Every post was thoughtful, each song she sang had purpose, and every conversation she had reflected genuine care. Beyond makeup artistry and digital storytelling, Stephanie was pursuing a law degree. She showed time and again that intellect and creativity can thrive together. She was also a passionate singer-songwriter, sharing her music under the name Stephanie Pieper Music, another window into her tender and expressive spirit. Her beloved dog Marlowe was a frequent star in her stories. Fans loved how she gave glimpses into real life, the cozy mornings, the honest reflections, and her healing walks in nature. Brands admired her not just for reach, but for trust. IQ Beauty, of course, even welcomed her as a brand ambassador because she lived what she shared. Those who knew her personally describe her as grounded and vibrant. In a fast-moving digital world, Stephanie brought stillness and sincerity. She took time to uplift friends, respond to followers, and dream about what might come next. Her passing has sparked important conversations, not just about grief, but about safety, domestic violence, and the vulnerabilities faced by many. She leaves behind a community asking tough questions and vowing to do better. But even in sorrow, Stephanie's legacy is clear. She inspired people to live honestly, to create fearlessly, and to care deeply. A life of compassion, beauty, and authenticity, cut short but never forgotten. As fellow influencer Clara W. shared, she had light in her. You felt it immediately, and it stayed with you long after. Tributes to Stephanie Pieper. A poem's job, Ellen Bryant Voigt once said, is to bring us to attention, to hold us still and make us listen.